we are Anchor. You can support us with the Super Thanks button below.
Repressive governments try to influence the opinions of the people by using certain tools. The schools and the media are very important tools for influencing public opinion. But sometimes, despite all the efforts of the rulers, the opinions of the people may be different. This is the nightmare of repressive regimes. Russian President Vladimir Putin has ruled the country since 1999. Putin has been using propaganda for many years to influence the opinion of the Russian people. But the Russian people are no longer convinced by Putin's propaganda. This reaction of the Russian people is also affecting Russian soldiers. It is known that thousands of Russian citizens have joined the Ukrainian army. The latest news in the Russian press shows that the new developments on this issue are quite shocking. As Anka Daily News team, we investigated this issue. If you're ready to learn all the information we have obtained, let's start now. First, let's take a closer look at the story of 28-year-old Sergei Glashenkov. Glashenkov was one of the most intelligent young people living in Russia. Despite Putin's propaganda, he managed to oppose this war. But participating in protests was no longer enough for him. Glashenkov believed that Putin's rule in Russia must come to an end in order to end wars all over the world. This is because Russia pursues hostile policies towards Western countries, triggering conflicts in many parts of the world. Glashenkov knows that if Russia adopts a policy in line with the West, world politics will change completely. But this would require the end of Putin's rule. Glashenkov feels a great hatred for Putin. This has galvanized the young Russian. Glashenkov decided to join the Ukrainian army to fight against Putin. For this, he spent a long time watching war videos on the internet. He also prepared by buying the most advanced weapons and armor available in Russia. Glashenkov packed himself a soldier's kit and traveled to Belgorod, a city in Russia bordering Ukraine. He tried to sneak across the Russian border in this city. However, Russian soldiers spotted him and stopped him. Glashenkov was detained after a large number of weapons were found in his bag. What Glashenkov did became a hot topic in Russia. Thousands of Russian citizens started to share messages of support for him. However, after this incident, a new agenda emerged on social media in Russia. Thousands of Russians who joined the Ukrainian army posted on social media and called on the Russian people. The soldiers said that Putin should withdraw from Ukraine to end this war. The soldiers also emphasized that this war started only for Putin's political goals. Reading these messages, Russian citizens became even more angry with Putin. Russian citizens also started talking about these soldiers who joined the Ukrainian army. So, who are these soldiers? In fact, relations between Ukraine and Russia are quite complicated, because before the war started, citizens of both countries were immigrating frequently. It is known that there are thousands of Russian citizens living in Ukraine. When Putin decided to invade Ukraine, everyone reacted very strongly. The Russians living in Ukraine reacted the most strongly. They said that they would do their best to protect Ukraine's independence. Thousands of Russian soldiers sent to fight in Ukraine also rebelled against their commander's orders. These soldiers joined the Ukrainian army to fight against Putin. The more problems in the Russian army, the more they joined the Ukrainian army. Since the beginning of the war, the Ukrainian government has been implementing a very strong communication strategy. As a result, interest and support for the Ukrainian army is growing every day. Russian soldiers are switching sides to join the Ukrainian army. Thousands of Russian soldiers have joined the Ukrainian army. Russian soldiers joining the Ukrainian army is also affecting the course of the war. According to the latest news from the war zone, some Russian soldiers from Bakhmut have also joined the Ukrainian army. This could change the outcome of the fighting in Bakhmut. As you know, the war between Russia and Ukraine has intensified in recent months in the town of Bakhmut. In this town, the Russian army is suffering heavy losses. Hundreds of soldiers die every day in the Russian army. But Putin does not allow the withdrawal of Russian troops from this city. This has led to tensions between Russian soldiers and commanders. Russian soldiers said they did not want to continue this war any longer. However, Russian commanders responded very harshly to the soldiers. the crisis in the Russian army escalated even more. Russian soldiers started to hate the Kremlin leadership. While Russian soldiers were on the battlefield, they were also following the Russian press. The soldiers saw that the press was constantly reporting fake news. The Russian press, under Putin's control, was producing fake news every day to manipulate the public. When the Russian soldiers saw that the news was false, they became even more angry at Putin. The soldiers realized that Putin was manipulating them too. So they started planning to leave the Russian army. Some Russian soldiers were planning to flee the war zone and seek asylum in Europe. These soldiers then decided to surrender to Ukraine. Some of the soldiers who surrendered to the Ukrainian army wanted to return to Russia through prisoner exchange projects. But some soldiers had a different plan. Russian soldiers decided to join the Ukrainian army and fight against Russia. This unit, called the Free Russia Legion, soon grew. This unit inflicted great damage on the Russian army, especially in Bakhmut. The Russians who joined the Ukrainian army had very important information in this region. These soldiers, who had previously served in the Russian army, knew all the war plans of the Russian army. They also knew the locations of the Russian army's ammunition depots. This information in the hands of Russian soldiers was very important for the Ukrainian army. Thanks to this information, the Ukrainian army was able to carry out strategic operations. The Russian army had to change all its plans. Russian soldiers who joined the Ukrainian army had one more feature. When these soldiers joined the Ukrainian army, they also brought a lot of weapons. The soldiers went to Ukraine after capturing many bombs and weapons. These soldiers helped the Ukrainian army while destroying Russian ammunition. The Ukrainian army gained strength thanks to this ammunition. The Russian army is having difficulties to deliver ammunition in the town of Bakhmut. The Ukrainian army has managed to establish a very important superiority in this town. All the routes that the Russian army can use to deliver ammunition are blocked. The Russian army is being cornered in this city every day. For a long time, the Russian media claimed that the city of Bakhmut had been captured. However, now the Russian press has also started to change its reporting on this city. Everyone can now see that Russia has been defeated in this city too. Especially the departure of Russian soldiers from the army is considered as the biggest proof of this. What do you think about Russian soldiers joining the Ukrainian army? How do you think this decision of Russian soldiers will affect the course of the war? What do you think about the reaction of Russian citizens to these events? How do you think the fighting in Bakhmut will turn out? Don't forget to share your opinion with us. Follow us for more updates.
All rights to these videos belong to Anka Daily News YouTube channel. Our Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook usernames are @AnkaDailyNews. Do not rely on any other social media publications. We legally fight all websites and channels that use it without our permission.